I just ruined my best friend's chance at getting to college, and you know what? He deserved every bit of it.
My friend from high school always comes off as the jealous type, but I, 17 Mel, never thought about it too much, until it became too late. It all started 2 months ago. My friend Ryan has been in high school for an entire 3 years, but I could always tell he had some awkward family issues. The thing is, Ryan's dad wasn't wealthy. Well, but he was pretty well off. They lived in a nice house and his dad drove a cool Range Rover. However, his dad was very, very strict, especially when it came to money. Even though he could give him more, he always gave Ryan a modest allowance and did not buy him a car for high school, despite Ryan begging him repeatedly. Ryan always felt like he was missing out on the things other people got that his dad just refused to get him. One time when the latest iPhone came out, a couple of his buddies in class got it, and Ryan was obsessed. He kept asking them about it and had them take pictures of him a bunch of times to the point where they got angry, loudly told him to stop obsessing over their iPhones. And everyone sitting around them at lunchtime just laughed. When Ryan asked his dad for one, his dad told him to get a job and get it himself if he wants it. But Ryan wasn't really a hardworking kind of person. He cheated on exams, barely passed his classes, and always relied on others to do the work for him. In hindsight, I'm not really sure why we were even friends, but life has its way sometimes, doesn't it? Anyways, 2 months ago, Ryan and I sat down to discuss our future post-graduation topic, and we were starting to talk about college now. I told him that my family and I agreed that I won't be going, or at least I'll take a gap year, or maybe 2 just to work and see if I can afford the loan later. Ryan was surprised and told me that it's his dream to go to college, so he can live the, quote, life of a free man. He told me that his dad agreed to pay for college on one condition. Ryan had to find a job and work there until right before the college semester started. When I asked him why and told him that there's no way he could make enough money, he told me that it wasn't about the money and that his dad just wanted him to be responsible. I told Ryan that's a great idea and it would help him out a lot, but I guess he had other plans. He told me that his dad was nuts and that there was no way he'd be working in some fast food place or Walmart for no reason. He told me that a friend of his works in a retail store and would fake some hiring papers for him, and that he would tell his dad that he was working. But in reality, he'd just be hanging out and then come home in the afternoon as if he was working all day. Well, I had an argument with him that it was just a bad idea, that he should just listen to his father. But he called me to stick in the mud and begged me to promise him that I would not tattletale on him. Well, I didn't like lying, but I knew that he had issues with his dad, and I didn't want to be the one to make things worse between them. So I agreed and told him that I wouldn't be a part of this, but that I would not tell his dad. Well, he was ecstatic. A couple of days later, Ryan randomly texted me and showed up at my house around 11 p.m., and when I asked him what the heck he was doing, he told me that he got bored staying out all day pretending to be at work. He just wanted to come hang out. Well, I was busy and had things to do, but I told him he could stay for like an hour if he did just want to chill. He told me all about how he's just hanging out in coffee shops, the mall, visiting friends all day until, quote, the workday is over and he can go back home. He told me that his dad was very proud of him for working, and that for the first time in his life he felt a connection with his father. I was proud that he was making some progress at home, but I did not like that he was lying to do it. I did not tell Ryan my parents offered me money instead of the college tuition that I could do anything I wanted with, and that I was already searching for a job. I had a job a little bit far from home, so I decided that the money my parents wanted to give me as a gift for graduation would be best for a vehicle that I could use to get to work. I didn't want Ryan to know, however, as I knew just how obsessed he got with things that he wanted for himself. I got the car and was about to start working right after graduation. I did not consider the possibility, but a couple of weeks later, I found Ryan at the door again, and as soon as I opened it, it was like an interrogation. He started asking me a barrage of questions about the vehicle parked outside, and when I tried lying and telling him it was my mother's, he got mad, and I had to tell him that my dad got it for me for graduation, so I can work. His face lit up. He immediately asked me to take it for a ride, but I told him no. He kept asking to at least take a look at it, and when I said yes, he spent a good 15 minutes just staring at the car from every direction, inside and out. I kept asking him if he wanted to come inside and eat or drink something, and he was just happy sitting in the driver's seat and playing the radio. I started getting nervous about how obsessive he was coming off. He kept asking for a ride where I could just drive and he'd be in the passenger seat. So I huffed and I puffed, but I said okay. We went for a drive, and he kept making comments about how his dad would never buy him a car. How lucky I was to have parents that were this nice. I told him that it was for work, and that he'd be going off to college, which is significantly more expensive, but he didn't care, and still thought it was somehow unfair. His glaring got so bad that as soon as he told me that he wishes for a car like it, we were a hair away from making an accident, and I had to brake really hard. I never believed in envy or things that could go bad if someone envied you, and that sort of energy, but I was seriously considering it at the moment. I made an excuse that my parents needed me home, so I dropped him off at his home, where his dad was standing outside. As soon as he got out, he told his dad that my dad bought him a nice little fancy car, and his dad yelled at him to get inside. As soon as he got in, I could see him peeking through the window and staring at the car until I fully drove off. I was uncomfortable and wanted to never go through this again. Of course, things kept getting worse and worse. Ryan would show up at my house nearly every day, demanding that we go for a ride, and every time he would beg that he drives. I tried as much as possible to make excuses, but eventually I'd given in and I let him drive a few times around the block. When I did, however, he would not leave the steering wheel and would act as if it was his own car. It was so annoying to watch, but he'd keep mentioning how badly his dad was treating him and how he wished for so many things that his entire life, but his dad would never let him have them. Well, I did sympathize a little bit with him, but it was still very annoying. We finally graduated, and I was about to start my new job in about 30 days. I was getting everything ready, and I knew that I'd have a long drive ahead of me every day with all the traffic, but I was excited. Ryan had been pretending to work for that shop for over a month now, so his dad seemed pretty pleased with him, and he was heading off to college. Naturally, he came to me one day so I could help him with his application. I pretty much did all the work for him, as people in his life always had. I didn't mind helping him with the paperwork though, as I only cared about having to lie to his father. But at that point, I just wanted him to go to college so he could leave me alone, and I'd be done with this. I was tired of his antics with his father and the whole thing about the car, and I just wanted him out of my life right now. All of this was ruined one day. However, Ryan was over at my house when I got a call from his dad asking me where he was. It was early in the morning, so it would be the time Ryan pretended to be at work. I lied and said that he was probably at work and that I hadn't heard from him. His dad kept interrogating me and told me that he called the branch where Ryan supposedly is working at, and they told me that Ryan wasn't there. He came off as very aggressive, and well, I was getting nervous. But Ryan inaudibly just begging me not to tell him, so I just kept playing a fool. When he hung up, Ryan ran over to the store in fear that his dad would go there and not find him. Well, let's go ahead and skip forward now. 2 days later, Ryan came to visit again, and he looked pretty depressed. He told me that his dad found out that he skipped work that day and got so angry that he actually laid his hands on him. He didn't find out that Ryan was faking the whole time, thank goodness, just that he was absent on that one little day. He looked pretty down, and I felt a bit sad. And it came back to bite me when he asked to borrow my car. I didn't know how to refuse when he was in such a state, so I told him okay, but that he would have to take care of it and bring back it tonight. His face lit up like a light bulb, and he took off. I was worried the whole day about what might happen, and what I feared, it did happen. I got a call from Ryan around 10 p.m. freaking out, telling me that he was in an accident. So I took an Uber to the station where the car was completely totaled, and they towed it away. Ryan seemed perfectly fine, and he told me that it was a miracle he survived, but that the car almost ran into a deer, and that he lost control and the entire car flipped 3 times. I saw the car, and it was wrecked. My heart sank. It was a total loss, and I didn't know how to react. I got furious and loudly yelled at him that I didn't want him taking the car in the first place, and that it was my fault for trusting him. And people started gathering around. I could see Ryan's face starting to shift, so I just stormed off. I didn't know what to do, and I knew he said it was an accident, but something just felt off. I went to the lot where they took the car and started looking at it myself. There was a bottle cap of alcohol, which I never drink. One of the folks over there at the lot came over to take a look at the car, and with me, asked me what the heck happened. So I told him. He looked at me strangely and told me that there's no way this car just flipped over on the road and got like this. From his experience, he showed me the impact points, and we deduced that the car had to have fallen off of a bridge. I thought about how Ryan was perfectly unscathed. No cuts on him at all, perfectly fine. Meaning, there's no way he drove off the bridge and nosedived without a scratch. I knew that Ryan had to have pushed the car off the bridge for all this to happen. I immediately went over to his house as it was a weekend and confronted him. As soon as I gave him my theory and evidence, he denied it in the exact same way he talked to his father. So I knew he was lying. I told him that he was jealous the whole time, and he did this because he wanted one for himself, and knew he couldn't get it. He kept bumbling and coming off as even more of a liar. So I started to raise my voice. His dad was outside in the lawn and couldn't hear us, but Ryan started getting more and more agitated. I told him that he owes me a new car, and he told me that he doesn't owe me squat, and that I didn't even earn the car and that my daddy bought it for me. I told him, dude, you're just salty that my dad actually loves me unlike his father, who degrades him, and he almost threw a punch when his dad walked in on us because of the noise we were making and asked what the heck is going on. Ryan took a look of begging into his face not to tell him, but I was absolutely livid. I asked his dad to come outside and started telling him the whole thing. I told him everything from the beginning. I told him how Ryan had been lying to him his entire time. He doesn't have a job. I told him how he did all this just to get to go to college, and that even that wasn't enough, and told him everything about the car, all the way to the alcohol bottle cap and how he found it. I never saw a man this furious in my entire existence. He had the eyes of a killer. He took everything, and Ryan started to beg and apologize to him. His dad struggled to keep a calm demeanor, apologizing to me, and politely asked me to leave. I knew what was about to happen, so I quickly left. And on my way out, I heard his dad yelling so loudly, I got startled and ran home. I thought I was in a car. I got back and was too embarrassed to tell my parents the whole thing. So I just told them that the car was in the shop for a fender bender and that I'd get it back tomorrow. I didn't know what to do, so I just slept on it. The next day, I find Ryan showing up at my house driving a car pretty similar to mine. I went down and he looked absolutely terrible. He handed me the key and told me that it was from his dad as an apology to what he did. He confessed to the whole thing and begged for my forgiveness. It seemed like his dad was extremely tough on him. My parents came down and he explained everything to them and why the car was slightly different. They excused themselves and went inside to let us talk. I asked Ryan why he did all of this, and he told me he just felt jealous and envious that he couldn't have nice things like me, despite having a father who could easily afford it. I asked him what his dad did, and he told me that he deprived him of the college and kicked him out of the house, leaving him to find a real job, and he has to afford to stay at a place. He told me that he'd be staying in a motel, and he'll have to pay for the daily minimum wage job that he's going to get. Well, his life's about to get real. I told him that if he hadn't lied from the get-go, things would not have turned out this way. A very small part of me felt bad for him, but he deserved it. Not just for what he did to me, but for the finally just taking responsibilities for his actions and finally manning up.
Okay guys, this was a pretty interesting story. I really only have one question for you guys. Do you think OP's best friend's father was too harsh in this story? Do you think maybe some of the reasons why he was acting out so much was because his home life was so strict? That's what a lot of comments were saying, but I would like to know your opinion on it. So drop your comments down below, guys. Did you like the story? Let me know, yes or no. And also, I hope you guys have a great day. If you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and take a second right now and click that big old red subscribe button underneath this video. Guys, have a great one, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.